Oh, Eileen. She had been struck by a vehicle and lost one of her eyes and vision in the other eye. They, really thought humane euthanasia was the route. And then they noticed that she had pinky babies and they really don't do well without mama. And after several days, it became very clear that she was going to survive and she was going to make it. And so they started reaching out to rehabbers to home her. And I got to be the lucky one that got to do that. And it wasn't until she got into my care that I truly realized what she had been through.
Welcome to Wild Development Studio. Join us as we venture into the breathtaking realm of wildlife arts and untamed adventures. With captivating stories from the field and ideas to dive into the visual arts, we'll ignite your passion for conservation. Get ready to develop something wild.
Welcome to Wild Developments, where we bridge the gap between the confines of your office to the freedom of the great outdoors. I'm your guide, Lauren, and today's episode is sponsored by JL Aerial Views, serving the Cincinnati tri-state area and specializing in first-person drone imaging, guaranteed to get your clients' attention. Reach out today at info@jlaerialviews.com with code WILD for 15% off your first service. Today's episode is a topic that is near and dear to my heart: wildlife rescue. I earned my certification in 2020, and compared to today's guest, I've only cared for a mere handful of animals. And I don't think that people really understand the hard work and dedication it takes to be a wildlife rehabber. But the job is so important because it preserves the balance of nature and biodiversity. To learn more on the topic, I talked to Carley Self, who is the founder and director of NOLA Kitten Nursery, which is a neonatal mammal rescue based in New Orleans, Louisiana. This rescue specializes in kittens and is also licensed to care for opossums, armadillos, squirrels, and more. She has an active TikTok featuring rescue insights and education, and she will often go live to share ins and outs of animal rescue. She works with local government entities and rescues to help educate the public on TNR and full circle rescue practices, monitoring for new animal rescues and individuals on a national level, helping them to overcome the steep learning curve of neonatal care. She plans and teaches monthly in-person training on bottle baby care. She also coordinates and oversees all fundraising efforts, coordinates intakes, transports, release, and adoptions for all domestic animals and wildlife. Carley, thank you so much for being here today.
I'm excited. You're my first podcast. I'm pumped.
Yeah, it's gonna be so much fun. And you're already a natural at doing all this stuff. I've seen you on TikTok live. And we met through Mic Drop Workshop, where they were trying to guide us to becoming a speaker. Have you taken that leap and gotten on stage yet?
Yesterday we did our very first in-house education for an elementary school.
Oh, that's exciting.
It was donation based for the wildlife group that I work with, Silent Voices. I was their possum lady and got to educate K through 5 about possums. And it was really exciting. And then I've got a couple other quotes out trying to work through. So we're getting there. It's happening.
So because you're an animal rehabber, are you going to be speaking all about animal rehab, or what's your topic going to be on?
So really, because so much of my TikTok lives are educational content, and with animals, really, you kind of need to watch hands-on. There's people that learn, hands-on, there's people that are visual learners. So I really hope to do more inspirational speeches and talk a lot more about the mental health behind animal rescue. And obviously mental health, it's outside of animal rescue, right? We all struggle with it from time to time. So my hope is to use what I've learned in my animal rescue career through, burnout recognition, through setting healthy boundaries, through trying to mitigate my own animalistic behavior, to be triggered by something and be angry and reactive, and turn that into more of a coaching of how I've seen animals work through those responses and how myself have learned from them.
Sign me up. I want to go to this right now. It sounds amazing. We talked a little bit before we started recording, because I rehab animals too. Right now, I've got 2 Eastern box turtles in my care. Between the 2, they have 6 legs. And I mean, I'm sure you've got your hands full. I've seen some of your stuff on TikTok live. I
I'm
mean,
waiting for someone to act up. I've got literally within touching distance, I have 11 possums, 12 kittens, and 2 squirrels. Like, I'm just waiting. Someone's going to act up at some point. So,
yeah, I was going to say, because opossums have a lot of babies.
yeah.
And you seem to be doing a lot of rehab with opossums. And at one point last year, I had about 15 little babies. They are adorable. Let me tell you that. Anybody that says an opossum is ugly, they are so wrong.
Yeah.
They are
No, they're
so sweet.
especially younger babies. Now those pinkies, I get it. Okay. They're a little alien looking, but the second that hair comes in, no, they're the cutest things on the planet. Their little noses and their eyes and their giant ears.
Yes.
I
And the
love it.
little noises that they make are just so
Yeah.
cute. And
Yeah.
they were so much easier than squirrels, in my opinion, to take care of.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, once they're lapping, yes. The whole
Yes.
tubing and everything is like a whole thing. But yeah, once they're like lapping on their own, oh yeah.
So, I mean, it's got to pull at your heartstrings how adorable they are. How do you set healthy boundaries, especially you're in New Orleans? I'm assuming you guys get some pretty heavy winds. That's going to cause trees to come down. You're going to get
Yeah.
babies. How do you set healthy boundaries?
So I think the biggest learning curve for me is that my boundaries when it comes to animal rescue aren't rigid. Which may sound like the opposite of what most people are going to tell you about boundaries. I tried really early on in my animal rescue career to be like, this number of animals, and this number of species is it, period. And what was happening is I would meet that, I would have 4 kittens and 1 possum, and my kittens would all be weans. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm at 5 animals. That's what I said my boundary was. But I've got the time and the space and the energy. So I had to learn much more to get in tuned with my overall mental health. I had to learn what the burnout looked like for me, what the signs were that it was coming. If I'm going to sleep and I'm waking up exhausted, red flag. Like, red flag. Okay. I'm doing too much. If I'm snappier with my husband and my kids more than I should be, like, red flag, I'm doing too much. So for me, I tried to stop doing it more by like a specific number of animal and more about how the animals that were in my care affecting my mental health. And when I started seeing some of those negative indicators, then I'm at capacity now. And if I need to reach out to other people to take some of that workload off, and I would then take like my healthiest babies, my oldest babies, and pass them on to less experienced, like rehabbers and fosters.
Because it's got to be on a case by case basis. Sometimes you're going to have
Absolutely.
some extreme cases. Like right now, you've got a mom opossum. Tell us
Mhm.
about her story.
Oh, Eileen. So Eileen came to me from a vet clinic. She had been struck by a vehicle and unfortunately lost one of her eyes and vision in the other eye. They, really thought humane euthanasia was the route, and then they noticed that she had pinky babies in her pouch, and they really don't do well without mama at all. And so this amazing vet clinic removed her eye, gave her some medicine for the pressure swelling in her brain, and kind of like she had to fight for it. She had to do the rest. Possums metabolize medicine very differently. This was not a wildlife vet, so they were kind of just, hoping. And after several days, it became very clear that she was going to survive and she was going to make it. And so they started reaching out to rehabbers to home her, and I got to be the lucky one that got to do that. And once she came to me, you would think being hit by a car was bad. And it wasn't until she got into my care that I truly realized what she had been through. She has half a tail, and it is very clear that she has half of a tail because of a shovel. She has 2 very deep, old lacerations, like deep scars. and you can see the perfect, like slightly curvature shape. So you can see where they tried higher up, and then that tissue and bone was too thick, and they came down and then came down again. She also had some growths in the top of her head when I was doing her initial examination that were, but I mean, to me, they were benign, right? They're not oozing anything. I don't see any red tissues. I'm like, fine. I'm moving on to the other major injuries. And now that those are healing up, I went back to kind of evaluate them because she was itching at one, and they're BB bullets.
Oh my
So she
gosh.
has one here on the top of her head, and the one that's back here by her ear, because it's in that fatty tissue, is really bothering her because, her body is trying to work it out. So this sweet girl, has lived a year, which is half of her lifetime, for most possums, and has been shot twice, had her tail cut off with a shovel, and been hit by a car. And is still like the best mama ever. Like, I
Oh.
mean, gold stars. She's killing it. So, yeah, we see some things, unfortunately, and I feel absolutely honored that she is in my care now. She unfortunately will be non-releasable due to blindness and her seizures. And I really hope to use her as an animal advocate to educate about how awesome these animals are, because I have no doubt that's why she was treated that way. Is they don't see their pets. They don't see a dog or a cat when they look at her. They see a rodent. They see a dirty animal. And I really hope, amongst many goals of mine, is to educate more about, the benefit that they truly have to our environment.
They really are incredible animals, and rehabbing them, they were so easy because you can give after they are done weaning,
Yeah.
and give them a little dish of their moist cat food and yogurt and fruits and veggies, and they're litter trained. And
Yep.
they were so much easier than squirrels, like I said. But they are just the sweetest, most beautiful things.
Oh yeah.
And it is such a shame that people treat the animal like that. But
Yeah.
that's really cool that you're going to be able to use that animal as an outreach animal and
Yeah.
people can see firsthand. I mean, you did that TikTok live last night and it's Eileen.
Eileen. Yeah.
Eileen had the seizure and you were able to calm her down and she's taking care of her babies. It was just, she's the sweetest thing. I don't know how
Yeah.
anybody could not fall in love with
I-
that animal. So that's really cool that you're able to do that.
yeah. I feel really excited about it.
How long have you been doing wildlife rehab and where did this passion even come from?
So I've been an animal lover my whole life. I mean, I look back on photos from a kid that I don't even remember, and I'm holding a kitten or something. I just think it just I was born this way. Um, I've been volunteering at different humane societies and shelters since before I even was technically able to. I used to have an aunt that would lie about my age for me, and she would come with me as my chaperone and help me. Because I think it was like 13 that you had to be like a minimum to volunteer. And at like, 11 and 12, she's like, yeah, she's 13. She's coming to volunteer. She's just small for her age. So I've always just had a passion for animals. I didn't start my official rescue journey until my late 20s. My husband and I, boyfriend at the time, were burnt out, just absolutely burnt out. Story of my life, right? Just burning out I'm burning both ends of the candle. Even before I got into animal rescue, I had very unhealthy boundaries around work-life balance. And I was working a job where I covered 5 states. I was in medical sales and I was always traveling. And my husband was an environmental engineer at the time and was also always traveling. And we sat down at lunch one day and I was like, I think I'm going to quit my job. And he was like, I literally brought you here to tell you that I want to quit my job. And I was like, well, we can't both quit our jobs. And he was like, yeah, we can. And like we saved and we pinched pennies and we took, like 2 months off. He pivoted into financial advising. I pivoted into more consulting. And we found out very quickly that we weren't good at doing nothing. So when we got a phone call from my mother-in-law that a little baby squirrel had fallen out of a tree in her backyard, I was there in a heartbeat. I needed something to nurture. I needed something to focus on because I had been working like these 60, 70-hour work weeks and I didn't know what to do with myself. His name was Morty. He was our first little baby together. I laugh at myself now knowing how old Morty actually was and that I was literally waking up every hour and like feeding him with a dropper and like stressing about him. And like Morty was like 9 weeks old. Like Morty was I know this now as a rehabber that Morty didn't need me to wake up every hour and wear him in a scarf and like fuss over him. But that's where that passion started. Morty made it very clear when he hit puberty that he wanted to be an outdoor squirrel, and we respected that boundary.
Mhm.
And then we quite literally had empty nest syndrome. And so I got tagged in a Facebook message about some kittens. I'm like, how different can kittens be from squirrels? If I can do a squirrel, I can do kittens. Let me tell you, they're different. I figured that out. But it's never stopped since then. And that was almost 8 years ago. Yeah.
That's amazing. What is the biggest challenge that you face as an animal rehabber?
People.
Yeah.
People.
What?
Finding the grace for them
Mm.
when you are already emotionally exhausted and burnt out. Finding the grace for their lack of education around a certain situation. Finding the emotional space to deal with their emotions because this is new to them and they're panicked and this is a new baby and I don't know what to do. People. People is the hardest part of animal rescue for me.
What would be some advice that you have for somebody that found an animal, they want to help, and they're freaking out? How can they best manage that situation?
Hold 1 second. Daisy is being very loud. Daisy. Sorry, it's my bunny. Can you chew on something less loud? No. Can you hear that?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's not
We're gonna talk over it.
authentic podcast about animals if we can't hear animals
Yeah.
in the background.
Well, that is Daisy wearing down her teeth. Just so you know, rabbits need to whittle down their teeth. So she's doing a very natural thing. She loves cardboard. It's her favorite thing. So we keep her hay in a big cardboard box and she nibbles and then eats and then she like shreds and then not the cardboard, she eats the hay. Anyways, question please.
Yes. What advice? Somebody found an animal.
Yeah.
They're freaking out. They have the best interest at heart. What can they do to mitigate that situation?
So I'll go over the things that are universal, right? Because every individual animal is going to be a little different. If you find a possum, pick it up. The mom is not coming back. Homegirl's got 13 at minimum. She busy lady. Okay. So if you find a possum, pick them up. Don't be scared of them. They can't carry rabies. They're quite clean animals, and call your local wildlife rehabber. You can find them through Google. All other animals, you can make sure they're warm to the touch. If they are cold to the touch, they are in danger of hypothermia. Their organs can shut down. Tiny little babies cannot regulate their body temperature. It is an old wives' tale that if you touch a baby, mom is not going to come back for them. Honestly, it came from the 80s and 90s babies when we were just like outside in the street. Your mom just didn't want you playing with baby raccoons, okay? And for a good reason, all right? But touch them and make sure they're warm to the touch. If they are warm to the touch and they are not in danger, they're not in the middle of a road, they're not covered in insects, there's not torrential rain or snow, leave them where they are. Mom typically will come back from them. Squirrels and raccoons, they might have fallen out of the nest. They do have their own way of alarming and alerting, and mom will come back. Cats are the best mothers when it comes to self-care. Cats know what they need. She's going to say, I'll be back. I need to eat and I need to drink some water, and then I will come back from you. She puts her needs first so that she can continue taking care of her babies. It's a great thing we should probably learn as human moms. And so leave them there. If you are in a position where you can watch and check often, then awesome. If not, you can take flour and put a little ring of flour around those kittens. And then that way, when you come back, if that flour is disturbed, if you see that there's footprints coming back and forth, it means mom is coming and she's feeding them. You're just not seeing it.
So the kittens that you rescue, are they like outdoor cats?
I'd say about 90% of them. We have some people who didn't spay and neuter their own specific pet, and then they thought it would be cute to let their cat have kittens, and then mom either rejects them or mom passes away from a complicated birth. I mean, we've had some very complicated stories, but the majority of our kittens are little gutter kitties, little street trash kitties.
So what's
Mhm.
your opinion on outdoor cats?
My opinion on outdoor cats is if they are already outdoors, let's meet them where they're at. Let's get them TNR'd, let's get them vaccinated, and let's ensure that that population isn't growing. Um, if they are not already outdoors, let's do everything we can to keep them indoors as they do affect wildlife. And on average, outdoor cats live significantly shorter lives than indoor cats. I have two outdoor cats. They were rescued at an older age. One was rescued at 3 years old. He had already been an outdoor cat and ended up with a major eye injury. He ended up in my care after that surgery. And he made it very clear after he recovered that he was not an indoor cat. He was not interested in any way, shape, or form. And so, for my own sanity and for the urine smell in my home, we let him outside and he lives his best life out there. He has a QR code collar. So if anyone comes across him, they can scan it, and he has his own little web page, and it tells you his name and where he came from and who he is. It has my number, his dad's number, has all of the things. And so, yeah, I do think there's space for outdoor cats, but I think it's because they've already existed in that space, and we need to do our best job to meet them where they're at.
Because I thought that was a little interesting that you're rehabbing animals, like wild animals and kittens and
Yeah.
cats, the outdoor
Mhm.
cats, because it could almost be conflicting things, but that's a beautiful way to put it that,
Yeah.
if they're used to the outdoors, leave them that way, spay and neuter. You got to do
Yep.
the Bob Barker there.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, I like that. That was a good answer. Do you have a favorite animal that you gravitate towards?
So I have a favorite animal, and I have only gotten to rehab one as a little baby, and it's armadillo.
Wow.
During COVID, we got a umbilical cord armadillo. I mean, she was young, 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 young. I think part of it is she ignited a passion for me again. It had been so long since I had such a huge challenge. It'd been so long since I was like, I actually don't know what I'm doing at all. And so striking up that passion again to research another animal and find out all of the ins and outs and the proper husbandry was a lot of fun. And she had a great personality. She was quirky. She was weird. She was like having a drunk nocturnal toddler around all the time. I mean, she was sweet. It was fun. It was a good rehab.
Do you guys see very many of them in New Orleans?
Not really, and I think that's part of the reason. I've had two adults brought to me with injuries. One was releasable, one passed away in care. But that's the only baby in 8 years I've ever received. They come in like little kind of spurts of Louisiana, but you don't really see them that often in the city limits, which is where I'm at.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just in Texas last weekend. I was really hoping to see an armadillo or a roadrunner or something, but we were in the city. So yeah, not
Yeah.
very many. We just saw a lot of grackles. So
Yeah.
um so if somebody wanted to follow in your footsteps and be an animal rehabber, what steps can they take to make that a reality?
So first, I encourage everyone to not reinvent the wheel. Reach out to a local rehabber near you. Um, let them coach you. So for me specifically in Louisiana, you do have to do 1 year of a sub underneath a licensed rehabber. So the way that our structure is set up in Louisiana for wildlife and fisheries, you have to do that. You have to reach out to someone. Every state's a little bit different though for their requirements, and they're also different with what permits and certain animals you need. Like in some states, you don't need a permit to rehab a squirrel. Squirrels are not a vector species, meaning that they can contract rabies. So it's, rehab a squirrel if you want to rehab a squirrel. So it really just depends. But mine is reach out to a local rehabber. Find someone who is doing what you want to do in your area. That's Daisy. And see if you guys vibe and if you guys can learn from each other, and then take the process of looking up your wildlife and fisheries and what's the legal steps you need to take to make sure that your animals are legally protected and safe in your care.
That's excellent advice. 'Cause I am a sub under somebody, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't have it any other way because there is just so many ins and outs, and every case is a little bit different. And your rehabber either has seen it before or knows
Yep.
somebody that has, because there is a huge network of people online that will work together. I
Mhm.
had one opossum last year. We named him A-hole because he was not happy to see anyone anywhere ever.
Yeah.
And he kept holding his back foot. And we're like, that's really weird. What happened to him? That's not even why he was in care. He was
Yeah.
found in somebody's garage in a dresser. And he wasn't injured or anything. So they wanted to rehab him and make sure he was
Yeah.
good before they sent him out. So he's holding his leg. And I tell the person that I'm a sub under, and she's like, well, let me reach out to a couple different groups. And they're like, we need a picture. I tell you what, it was like an exorcism. There was like saliva. There was the most foul smelling
Oh yeah.
fecal matter just coming out
Yeah.
nonstop. I mean, it was special.
Yeah.
And we had to give him medicine and everything. So that was
Yeah.
not fun. And then when they decided, he's okay to be released, everybody's like, don't know what's wrong with him. Pictures look fine. He's had his round of medicine, released him. He walked just fine. I'm like, were you faking it the whole time?
A-hole indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So weird, but
Yeah.
they are fun.
They are. And that community is imperative because it's not like kittens and dogs. I can't call up a vet.
Yeah.
I can Google, but I'm going to get 15 different things. There's minimal money in wildlife, so there's not a lot of research. It's not like cats and kittens where they're people's pets and people will fund, research. And you've got Purina doing, major, scientific studies behind the food and the diet. Like, it's not like that for our wildlife. So a lot of us are going based off just things that have worked for us, and we all learn from each other. So it really can be a beautiful community. I love it a lot.
Now, you took to TikTok Live a couple months ago.
Hmm.
How has taking that leap changed the course of your rehab work?
Big,
Big.
huge. I don't know if I will ever stop waking up and wondering if this is a dream. The community that is there is supportive and beautiful. The thing that I love most about TikTok is they give you the best tools to curate your platform. So I don't deal with a lot of negativity and trolling and like angry people because I have so many tools, and especially on live, like having moderators that are dedicated to what I want for my platform. That we have built a community where I truly feel like it is a getaway not only for myself but for others. And you really can't say that with most social media platforms. I mean, the toxicity that can come from social media is extreme, just like the beauty is. And TikTok's really been the first place where I truly feel like I can be in better control of who's seeing my content, how they're coming across my content, how they're even digesting my content. Um, it has completely changed our nonprofit financially. It has pivoted some of my goals. I never considered actually public speaking about mental health until TikTok. The amount of people reaching out to me in direct DMs saying, I never thought about this way or that way, or your lives pull me out of a deep depression. This is what I needed. Or I look forward to your lives every day. I have extreme anxiety, and I've gotten to meet so many friends online that are helping with that because we suffer from the same things. Moms reaching out that never thought that they could foster because they have kids. I've always wanted to foster, but I've never, and life changing, absolutely life changing, and for the better.
That's incredible. I started getting into TikTok in 2020, as we all did.
Yeah.
And there's been so many starts and stops. Like, I get into a rhythm, I'm
Mhm.
doing videos, and then I hear they're going to cancel us. And close it down and then I stop. How do you keep going? Do you have a backup platform to help you out with that?
I'm NOLA Kitten Nursery on all platforms. So I have a YouTube, I have an Instagram, and I have a Facebook. I do not, literally one platform is a full-time job, right? Like I have over 200,000 followers between direct messages, editing. Editing takes forever, like editing all the content. And what I don't want to do is just copy paste onto Instagram and Facebook. I want people to follow me on platforms for different reasons. And so I try to do something a little bit different on each one, but because of that, TikTok gets 80% of my time and we're kind of getting leftovers for everybody else. I try not to live my life from a place of fear. As a mom, I don't always do that great when it comes to my kids, but for my professional life, I really try to live my life with not with fear-based decisions. And if I were to completely switch over to a platform or pivot and start giving more time and energy to Instagram, even though that's not really it doesn't really speak to my creativity and who I am as a creator, then I'm doing myself a disservice. So my followers know that if something were to happen to TikTok, we would make a decision together as to where we would want to go. And I would, stick to that. It would be unfortunate because I don't know of any other platform that is allowing content creators to monetize as diversely as TikTok is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is unfortunate. And I really hope that, I've met so many amazing people through TikTok and stay connected. It would be such a shame.
Yeah.
So
It really would.
Is there anything that we didn't cover that you would like to cover?
I mean, we can talk about public speaking a little bit more if you're interested in that. I'd love to know if your journey, with your public speaking. I know you've got the podcast, but if you don't mind telling me a little bit about yourself and, maybe I'll have some input too.
So 2020 rolled around, I was furloughed, and instead of baking bread, I decided to rehab squirrels. And that was a lot of fun. But we had one and we named him Jason. He was found on Friday the 13th. We named him Jason, which was a mistake because he was a holy terror.
Let me tell you, these animals, I don't know. It's a chicken and the egg situation. I don't know if we name these animals after something and the universe just helps them take on that persona, or if we're just getting that. But when I tell you I name a baby that's a little edgy like that, nuts. All of them. I mean, yeah.
Learned my lesson
Yeah.
with that one. He would hide walnuts everywhere and we wouldn't know where they were. And if we got near them and he was out, he would lunge and oh my gosh. And I just like the opossums so much more because they're neater and like it seems like a slower progression when it's like, okay, they're starting to get a little bit more, should I say wild?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they start acting like, oh, I don't want to be around people anymore. I need to be outside. It was a slower progression.
Yeah, squirrels is like a light switch. They wake up one day and they're just a-holes and you're like, what happened?
Exactly.
Like literally just they wake up on the wrong side of the bed and they're there for the rest of adulthood.
Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong, they're totally adorable, but they've got really good marketing people or something. I just my heartstrings for the opossums are just
I know.
I love the mouth and all the teeth and the fact they've got 13 nipples
yes
circular shape. Like you're the weirdest animal.
Did you know they're the only animal on the planet that has an odd number of nipples?
I think I did know that, and that's like why.
I don't know why. I have made it my life's goal to educate Taylor Swift that there is an animal on this planet that gives birth after 13 days and has 13 nipples, and that they are the only animal on the planet that has 13 nipples.
Taylor,
I need her to know that she has a spirit animal out there that I don't think that she knows is her spirit animal, and I just need her to know.
We're gonna have to tag her in all the things. I'm sure you.
Yeah, we've got. Listen. I'm trying to come up with a possum Taylor Swift like product line, and I'm imagining like possums like leaning up against the number 13, all cute,
Oh
Just
my
like a
gosh.
little, you know?
Yes, I think
Yeah.
we need to make it happen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what about you already said that everybody can find you at NOLA Kitten Nursery on all the
Yep.
platforms. You don't
Yep.
have a website yet?
Not yet. By the time this airs, I should. It's
Oh, good.
literally I should have it in like a couple of weeks, but you know how that goes. But yeah, it'll be nolakittennursery.org. And yeah, it'll be it.
Perfect. And I will tag all the things in the show notes so people can find you and keep
Yeah.
up to date on all the animals that you're rehabbing. Before we go, what is one tip that you have for someone that would like to connect with nature?
Listen. Um, listen. Go outside and truly listen and see if you can find that animal. I think you'll be surprised as to what animal are making the noises. We assume a lot of noises are birds
Mm-hmm.
that are not. They're typically squirrels. But just, yeah, get outside and just listen more. Just open your ears and be present.
Is great advice. Thank you so much. And until
Yeah.
next time, get outside and see what develops.
Thanks for joining Wild Development Studio. We hope this exploration into the world of wildlife arts and adventure has sparked a desire to get outside and connect with something wild. If you have an adventure that's awe-inspiring, don't hesitate to share. Click the link in the description to submit your story to have it featured on our show or be a guest. Until next time, keep connecting to the wild and see what develops. The views, opinions, and statements expressed by individuals during Wild Development Studio productions do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Wild Development Studio or its affiliates. Participation in any activities, expeditions, or adventures discussed or promoted during our content may involve inherent risks. It is strongly advised that individuals conduct thorough research, seek professional guidance, and take all necessary precautions before engaging in any such activities. Wild Development Studio, its representatives, or employees shall not be held responsible for any injury, loss, damage, accident, or unforeseen incident that may occur as a result of participating in activities inspired by or discussed in our content. By choosing to engage with our content or act upon any information provided, individuals do so at their own risk and discretion.